Land Cruiser, Camry, RAV4, Supra. Toyota is truly the pride of Japan. A lot of people mistake this automobile giant as just a profit-hungry powerhouse, but sometimes Toyota does something that reminds the world that they're still masters of cars. Today, we are looking at one such masterpiece. Taking millions of dollars and almost a decade to develop, still, nobody seemed to want this supercar. This is the story of the Lexus LFA, Japan's greatest supercar. The story of the LFA began when Toyota gave some of their most passionate engineers and designers the go-ahead to create the greatest driver-oriented supercar. The company also told them that this creation did not need to make money. This is actually important because this was not something Toyota was known for. At that time, Toyota was the world's largest automaker, and looking at the model of cars they produced and the frequency at which they were produced, it was clear that Toyota's main objective was to make money. Of course, the story of the LFA would not be complete without Haruhiko Tanahashi, a Japanese automotive engineer who joined the Toyota Motor Corporation in 1978. The Japanese have this work culture thing of drinking with your colleagues every once in a while, so sometime in the year 2000, Tanahashi went out drinking with his co-workers. During this time out, Tanahashi's boss asked him what his vision was for the ultimate car, and just like anyone else in his position would admit, he replied that it would be a sports car. This idea was given the go-ahead, so Tanahashi assembled a team to conduct some preliminary study. Tanahashi had to develop this car in line with some important criteria. First, the car needed to be a proper flagship, something that could transform the dull reputation of Lexus by igniting the passion of true car enthusiasts. The car needed to be fast and exude a live athletic feel, not just as a general impression, but with its on-track performance. Tanahashi specialized in anything that had to do with the chassis of a vehicle, so the team was sure that they had the comfort and feel of the car on lock. With the right team in place, all that was left was to begin production. The Lexus LFA is the ultimate V10 Formula 1 inspired all-carbon fiber supercar. The attention to detail and the workmanship of the LFA, both inside and out, is truly extraordinary. If you know nothing about the LFA and you simply hop in for a ride, the car's configuration and the entire experience will positively blow your mind. The LFA is extremely experienced. It is so intense, responsive, and focused that it's actually difficult for the mind to properly process the car. To properly describe the response of this car is not as easy as we would like it to be. Everything about how this car reacts to your inputs is cutting edge. The throttle is so responsive that a digital tachometer was required to keep up with how quickly the engine gains revs. From the noise to the building of power, the LFA is truly magnificent. It all gives you that peak automotive enjoyment by providing a theatrical and evocative experience. Now, one of the most common sensations while driving the LFA on the street is a certain level of frustration from the car. You see, the LFA is so responsive that it can quickly begin to feel impatient. It is so keen and vibrant that it perceives the real-world road conditions as a pesky inconvenience that prevents it from achieving its one true desire, from being let off the leash on a big, fast, and open road. For a car so advanced, it is almost impossible to believe that Toyota began its development as early as the year 2000, but it did. The first prototype was completed in the summer of 2003. By October of 2004, the car had been developed just enough to take it to the most demanding performance driving environment on Earth, the Nürburgring. If anything, the car proved to be well behaved. However, performance fell very short of the desired targets. The team quickly realized that the weight of the car was a problem. The car weighed around 3,500 pounds, so it was natural that it couldn't be considered fast enough. Of course, the team went back to the drawing board. They hypothesized that rebuilding the car with a carbon fiber tub instead of the aluminium one would significantly reduce its weight, but this was not going to be easy. Manufacturing carbon fiber was a whole new ballgame on its own that required completely different techniques and equipment than what Toyota had been working with. Still, the company did not back down and instead saw this as an opportunity to build its expertise to a level they had not yet achieved. As a result, a lot of money was pumped into the project, acquiring new machines and materials that were necessary for the production of carbon fiber. In fact, Toyota even developed and built some of these machines that it needed for the project. By 2005, the prototype was ready, and this time it weighed about 220 pounds less than what the original model had weighed. During production, the engineers started from scratch, just so that they could make the central structure out of carbon fiber. Tanahashi and his team had the notion that developing the LFA car on the Nürburgring would give rise to an extraordinarily high-performance car. As a result, they took the new car racing again. At this point, it wasn't about converting a road car to a racing car anymore. They had decided to focus on building an exceptional racing car. As the race would prove, the car still needed some modifications. They took the lessons from this and used it to refine the production of the car. By 2009, the LFA prototype yielded a class win, which turned everyone's eyes to Toyota. 3 months later, production of the LFA was confirmed in August 2009. It is this background in racing that gives the Lexus LFA the technical features that reflect its obsessive, performance-minded nature. However, only 500 LFAs were made, and Toyota ended its production in December 2012. They might look the same on the outside, but each LFA is so unique. There were up to 1 billion different configurations of the LFA, and each one was built in a way that the individual process was carefully documented from start to finish. This 3,500-page booklet of each of the 500 pieces made represents a piece of Toyota history that has been catalogued for future generations to research. The most striking technical features of the Lexus LFA include carbon ceramic brakes, aluminium suspension components, remote reservoirs for the dampers that reduce heatsink, low-friction suspension bushings, a dry sump lubrication system, and an attentive focus on weight distribution. The packaging of the LFA's powertrain is quite impressive. Specifically, the engine was developed from scratch and was built to have the power of a V10 with the external dimensions of a Lexus V8 as well as the weight of a V6. The dry sump lubrication and the transaxle at the back of the car allowed the engine to be mounted low in the chassis. The radiators for the engine cooling are also mounted at the back of the car to further improve the weight distribution of the car. Both the torque tube and exhaust system are housed in the central tunnel of the car. The LFA uses a flow-through cooling system which allows cool air to be drawn in through vents on the top of the hood and then extracted via the rectangular openings in the rear grills below the tail lamps. The airbox was specifically designed to resonate at the frequencies that don't just please the human ear, but also provide a sensational induction noise that brings to mind the glory of the old Formula 1 race cars. To create this perfect system, Toyota had to team up with Yamaha because they had experience with tuning sounds for musical instruments. As you can tell, the Lexus LFA is truly the supercar Toyota wanted it to be. Unfortunately, nobody seemed to want it. With so few examples made and an original manufacturer's suggested retail price of $375,000, a lot of critics passed judgment on the LFA, and sadly, they did so mostly based on the performance figures without having an actual first-hand experience of it. Going by the numbers, the LFA was a recognizably fast car. The only problem was, there were so many other fast cars that one could buy that cost less than the LFA in 2010. For the price of the LFA, you could buy at least 4 Nissan GTRs or 2 Porsche Turbo S. Even the Ferrari 599 was cheaper than the LFA. By 2019, Lexus dealers in the United States reportedly sold 3 brand new leftover LFAs, and since then, things have been changing for this supercar. Recently, the value of the LFA increased by 6 figures in less than 12 months. For some reason, the secret of this masterpiece is finally out. The value of this once misunderstood masterpiece is on the rise and finally being recognized for its hell of a ride. The one problem that nearly hindered the late success of the LFA was access. Production of the LFA ended more than a decade ago, and the fact that it was very limited posed another problem. You see, the beauty of the LFA cannot be fully appreciated unless you study the car and experience it firsthand. Very few people could afford the Lexus LFA, and the ones that could afford it simply could not understand the car or did not have the access to do so. Today, the LFA is greatly sought after for the raw driving experience that it offers, something that Tanahashi saw way ahead of time. It is truly remarkable that the value of the LFA today is easily twice its original retail price, a supercar way ahead of its time. The fact that the LFA continues to stand the test of time only shows that Toyota did something right with this one. But the same can't be said for Mitsubishi. Check out this video here about the rise and tragic downfall of Mitsubishi.